All right, this is the entity that is arriving, as you can hear on podcast, flying right over the building. While I'm inside of the building, this is nothing that's going to cause the building to vibrate. The sidewalk is not shaking right now. There's no loud sound that's causing my ears to bleed. The entity is stalking in the path because I'm documenting the people of the state, and this corroborating evidence is putting all of those third parties in prison. All right, the entity is doing is a fake sun that's no longer over the front door of building 51. As I open up that front door, this is in no position that would ever aim sunlight through the peephole. That's how you understand what is a gang stalker. That is criminal conduct that AVANATH Capital Management is going to be civilly and criminally accountable for. Not only are the residents gang stalking while AVANATH is profiting, not only are the employees gang stalking while AVANATH is both paying them a salary and also doing so in concert on behalf of the state in furtherance of a conspiracy to murder and kidnap. They're also doing so while their contractors, those who come landscaping, are gang stalking, those who come onto the property are gang stalking, and those they are also doing so while they're engaged in federal stalking together. The entity is doing so in a specific environment where they walk around in shade and engineer light that's in the shade, monitoring. And doing so while they know my panties are down, doing so while they know what I'm doing on my phone, on my laptop, what I'm publishing onto the internet. And that's why you have what is targeting the building where I'm at, where I'm walking toward, as though they're engaging in that under any lawful circumstances, and they're not. The entity is engaging what is gang stalking at the Starbucks, gang stalking at the Ovid Family Community Library, gang stalking while I'm walking down the street, gang stalking as a matter of documentation that the world can witness on the internet. And it's not a distraction from all the demons in units 33 to 64 who are going to prison, corroborating what is the evidence to disband the Ontario Police Department and remove audible activity and remove the demon Mayor Leon. Pay attention to the timing. What you'll hear on the podcast is me mentioning the demon Paul Leon. I want to be clear who takes personal pleasure by virtue of the audible activity. This is real-time response by demons. Paul Leon is a demon-possessed criminal who is currently in a position of mayor, and he is very well aware of the the criminal use of the helicopters in the city, which costs a lot of money, by the way, where the entity cannot afford and does not have the resources and the manpower because it's been misused on criminal conduct like surveillance, which I'm exposing. When you have actual security, emergencies like Los Angeles County does, and they don't have the manpower and the training in order to handle that because they're wasting it on the resources like the city of Ontario is. And as I've already documented this gang stalking in Los Angeles, so you can understand a lot of the reason why there's the lack of resources and the inability, the ineffectual handling of an emergency such as the fires in Los Angeles County, all of whom are gang stalkers, okay, that are demon possessed who are targeting. And as I reference Paul Leon, you're going to pay attention to the timing. The demons who are gang stalking, that are the Ontario Police, they are already stalking in the path and they communicate a threat. That's also why Paul Leon is out of office. Pay attention to the timing. Everything that I am stating is subject to surveillance, and Paul Leon is a demon-possessed gang stalking sex offender, and so is Mike Lorenz in the Ontario Police Department, who fly over in relevant position under a fake sun. That is a cartoon circus-like environment where you're stalking in helicopters, and that demon's name is going to be documented, produced, because they're going to prison. They're going to prison. All right. The entity is doing so on an ongoing basis, keeping under surveillance everything that I say and do. This is impossible light that's appearing in the shade in the hallway of the building. The significance of having engineer light that's appearing underneath a staircase. This is all demonic, where the entity is flying over in helicopter. It's audible activity and crossing a path, and it's also occurring while the mayor is being documented. The mayor is being documented while I remain inside of the apartment. The mayor is being documented while the fake sun remains over this building for the duration of the day. The mayor is being documented while the police department is gang stalking with the people of the state. And this is the evidence putting every single last one of them, including the gang stalking immigrants, they're going to be deported. And that includes anybody working for the Ontario Police that's not a natural-born citizen. They're going to be deported. ICE is going to treat them like every other immigrant. That's a terrorist that has no business in the United States. That's audible activity, relevant positioning in the specific environment, which is never going to be the cause of sunlight shooting through the peephole. It's never going to vibrate the building. It's not going to be heard in the depths of the apartment either. And it's also occurring in what is the supernatural environment. You see engineer light that's occurring, framing the door, shooting through the peephole, occurring in the middle of the living room, across the ceiling, and then it's also ricocheting off the windows. Because this is where you're looking at the evidence of what is federal group stalking and monitoring, presence in engineered light, and doing so on behalf of the demon in unit number 55, license 5WUB715, as the document entitled WSA-The People. I want you to pay attention to how the fake sun remains directly over me, over the front door where I go back over, where I return to after I'm capturing images of the fake sun remaining at the front gate, and that is in real time. As I move, the fake sun moves. I want to be clear, this is where the fake sun is at at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the evening. All right, and at that end of the building, that's where the fake sun is at 8:25, 8:30, 8:45 in the morning. This is where the police department that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring is gang stalking using helicopters, which is the basis of federal prison. The entity acts exhibiting mental illness while they are facing such federal penalties, and they are under no circumstances deterred. That is the ongoing criminal purpose to murder and kidnap. That's why the police are gang stalking, and that's why the people of the state are gang stalking with the state. And they also do so, which is evidence against the demon that is Paul Leon, who shall not remain, and no mayor shall remain in office for this criminal system, which is a massive sex offense, speaking to the pervert, speaking to the psychopath, speaking to the demon that is Mayor Paul Leon, who shall not remain under any circumstances in office, and no one under his leadership, which has overextended over 20 years of this public corruption that he knows all about. He's been financing the unemployed at Woodside Senior Apartments are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. I documented on podcasts all of these license plates. The entity is filled with what is 144 units of gang stalkers, and they do so on behalf of the state that flew over in helicopter, corroborating evidence, and that's going to be used in federal court. And it's the prosecution of an entity. So while you cross path, the entity is crossing path. The state is using one person, the state is using all of them together at the same time, and that's why you have a rising sun at one address. It is the supernatural environment, and there's no sun in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, contrary to what I documented at this time of year, where the LAPD were gang stalking in helicopters. Okay, and again, Alvarado Gardens is at 1806 North Alvarado Street. You're looking at all the means of what is light activity. The entities keep light in the shade while you're gang stalking in helicopters. They're doing so day and night, and also there's sex offenders that are monitoring my genitalia, knowing when I am disrobed and disposed. All of my private activity is a matter of public information. In addition to every name that I reference, like the sex offender interested in my genitalia, Paul Leon, who was going to be, I want to be clear, he is not accepted from federal prosecution. He is threatening my life while the police are the means of federal group stalking and monitoring, as I reference that demon. That's a basis of prosecution, not just removal from office. I want to repeat that. It's the same with Mike Lorenz. The entity is engaged in a pattern of conduct as an entirely corrupt entity, and that population acts on behalf of that entity. The elderly are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, not able to hold a job, not able to pay their rent, but fully energized and capable of engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring. And that is, again, the demon in unit number 55 is the ongoing chief means of amplification. It is psychological torture, like you see the Ontario police engaging in via helicopter, like you witnessed on the podcast and on video, the amplification of what is audible activity of a demon that is pacing in relevant position. It's not traffic. Neither is that the normal volume of traffic. This is P.O.C. ongoing documentation of impunity. It's 12:36 p.m. This is crossing path under the fake sun that remains over this building until the end of the day, rising and setting in alignment to me. And while they do so in plain view, it is the prosecution of the people of the state. In doing so at all ages, in the same exact specific environment, and doing so on a cane, doing so while you're taking your blood pressure medicine, you will be going to federal prison and treated like the animals that you are, regardless of your age. Okay, this is a massive sex offense, and it is the means of domestic terrorism and psychological torture in the U.S. Alrighty, it is currently, again, you are looking at the disregard of the law, which is exactly what the demon in number 55 represents. Gang stalking in your face is merely walking outside of your apartment and doing so in defiance of federal law. They're not even free to live here. This is the malice of the entity that is engaging in a covert system of surveillance. While I'm documenting the entity that is maintaining that pattern of conduct, this has nothing to do with sunlight. This is criminal surveillance that you can identify inside of the private space, which is the apartment. And this is the same light activity that you saw in the dark while Tracy Banks was gang stalking physically in the path, because she's gang stalking now. She's just not physically here. You're acting as an entity and is aware of everything that I state. In the same way, while I reference the mayor, the demons who are gang stalking with the mayor fly over in helicopter, and that's supposed to silence. That does not silence. What that equals is federal prison. All right, and that is also the evidence that's removing that gang stalking, sex offending, demon possessed criminal by the name of Paul Leon. I'm going to repeat it again. It is the evidence against the people of the state. As you document the specific environment, you document the government, who, by the way, proves it while they are gang stalking in that specific environment, flying higher than the sun. They flew over higher at a higher elevation than the sun. Pay attention to the evidence. These are demons who are very highly unintelligent and so focused on me, so determined to engage in threatening me that they are threatening their own liberty. They are going to prison. I want to be clear. This demon in Unit 55 and all the demons that I'm documenting on license plate, I'm going via license plate. They are one entity. That's just a sample. I just wanted to get on podcast today. All of those who are gang stalking with the demon in number 55, every minute, every move that I make, everything that I publish on the internet in real time, the entity as of 7:30 when I was documenting in the dark with Tracy Banks and this demon above has not ceased to engage in ongoing psychological torture. And as I step outside to document, the demons are gang stalking and heightening that threat, doing so with the police. Again, I want to be clear. The demons in units number, these are the demon possessed. They're domestic terrorists. They're engaged in psychological torture. This is the state that is acting vicariously. Okay, what you need to know, practically speaking, these are the demon possessed. They are exhibiting it through their presence in the environment, and they're facilitating behavior in that environment, which is accomplishing criminal monitoring, which is surveillance that the government that is engaging in that system via helicopter, while the means of amplification and impossible light activity remains both inside and outside, you are witnessing the system of federal group stalking and monitoring. While the government is directly engaging in it, the government is also vicariously engaging in it through the people of the state. And that is, again, the demon in unit number 55, license 5WUB715. She is going to a mental asylum, maintaining ongoing ceaseless criminal conduct. That is gang stalking where you live. You're going to prison. She is going to a mental asylum by virtue of the mental illness exhibited through her very disturbing and necessarily unstable mindset while she is gang stalking a person based on that person's movement, based on that person's whatever it is that I happen to be engaged in as I engage in it physically, what I'm doing on my communication devices, and then increasingly doing so. Meaning the more that I document, the more that I think about it, the more that the demon engages in that very disturbing conduct. And this is while the entity knows that they're going to prison. This is while the federal government is has an open ongoing investigation, which the Ontario Police Department, that is the state, treats with impunity. That's going to be noted upon the removal and exposure of people like Paul Leon, Alan D. Wapner. The Ontario International Airport is led by the demon possessed that are the corrupt government body that are going to be removed. There's no coincidences here. You're understanding, you will be familiarized with the demons that maintain more than one position of leadership in these corrupt cities and counties that are engaged in criminal surveillance in the state of California, as I've documented in San Bernardino County here. It is currently, again, 12:41 p.m. I want you to see what you saw this morning during the 8 a.m. hour, engineer light coming through the peephole, and it's the same condition while the fake sun remains over me as I leave the front door, walk to the gate, and walk back to the front door, capturing a group stalking by the entity in helicopter, and you're looking at what is the impossible. Not only is the sun going to hover over the top of a roof, it's not going to do so for the duration of the day, and it's also not going to be the cause of sunlight shooting horizontally into an apartment. All right, that's the pattern of conduct, however. This is where the entity is stalking in helicopter, and that is the ongoing open engagement by the government to threaten and intimidate and psychologically torture an American citizen. Okay, that is the police department that's going to be disbanded. Entirely illegitimate. They are a gang member. They are a gang engaged in sexual violence. They're obsessed with my genitalia while they practice witchcraft, and they engage in incriminating the entire state of California while they do so, in conformity to a well-documented P.O.C. Why is that? Because the Pasadena Police Department that are gang stalking under the fake sun when I'm in an entirely different region at no time has the sun in the same position over this building while I'm capturing that fake sun over me in Pasadena, while the Pasadena police are also captured gang stalking me. All right, this is evidence. Just one example. I have documented the state engaging in the pattern of conduct, the hallmark of gang stalking, psychological torture through helicopters. All right, and that's what the entity does in order to intimidate. That is to obstruct justice. That meaning they're not only going to prison, they're going to prison for a prolonged term. All right, and that's shared by the people. It is currently, again, 12:42 p.m. This is Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, where the scientific phenomenon of a fake sun rising and setting remains present, which is the evidence of a population that is engaged in what is stalking together corporate invasion of privacy, psychological torture, and doing so with impunity, showing what is the means that needs to be studied and exposed, what I have documented and supported by evidence, the mental illness of the demon-possessed who are engaging in domestic terrorism in the state of California. I want to go ahead and get this for you really quick before I end this video. This is gang stalking by the Ontario International Airport. That's amplified audible activity. As I referenced Alan D. Wapner, Terminals 2 and Terminal 4 are no planes would be hovering and be heard inside of the apartments, being amplified in volume. They're also flying at a higher elevation than the sun. This is the same P.O.C. Possessed are you're dealing with those that lack self-control. You're dealing with those that are literally ticking time bombs at Satan's order. They will engage in harming others, including harming themselves. The entity is currently placing itself in federal prison and mental asylums. That demon that is gang stalking in a plane over here, this demon gang stalking from the Ontario International Airport, doing so because they're triggered, because I referenced the demon Alan D. Wapner, who is going to be removed from office, who is a demon-possessed sex-offending gang stalker, who is currently the president of that corrupt venue, the Ontario International Airport, where I have already documented the fake sun remaining over my head on Omnitrans. Alan D. Wapner, the president of the Ontario International Airport, and is the head over the Omnitrans bus. That's not a coincidence. This is, again, exposing massive public corruption. And by the way, targeting is shown while you are under the fake sun, flying higher than the fake sun that's hovering over the roof, and it remains here all day long. Also, the timing with which, that's what the Ontario Police did, as I referenced Mayor Paul Leon. This is, again, the mental illness is exhibited by that ongoing criminal endeavor that is to its own demise. All right, so you're obsessed, you're so focused on me, you continue engaging in that which is to your own demise. The federal government, nor is the public ignorant or disillusioned about what they are witnessing. And this is speaking to, again, the system that is designed to murder and kidnap American citizens while seeking to falsely depict that American citizen. That's not going to work here. So you're witnessing what is, again, a barbaric conduct toward American citizens that have no defense, no system to enforce their rights, and no voice to be heard. That's why you're going to prison. That's why you're shutting down the airport. That's why you're being removed from office. That's why you're being disbanded and permanently removed from law enforcement. It is currently, again, 12:45 p.m. That's why they're all going to prison. They're all going to prison. Okay? It is currently, again, 12:45 p.m. This has been P.O.C. That continues on an ongoing basis.